So hello, everybody, and welcome to this question and answer session with the Doreid Haddad. Today, we will talk about ProductVariant and how to implement it to rank better on Google. But before, let's check if everything is working. Everybody can hear me? Please write in the chat, and if everybody can see the screen.
Let's see.
I hope so. Okay, so if there is no, if everything is okay, let's start. Fantastic. Thank you, Danilo. So let's start, Doreid. And just remember, you can write your question in the chat, and we will go through them during these 30 minutes together. So let's go.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Valentina, for the presentation. Let's get started, with the questions and answer directly. So for everyone, has read the article before, I know that it was, shared on LinkedIn. I received personally a lot of questions, so I would like to highlight some of the questions that we have from different people, answer them. Then, of course, we will have some time. Let's take the first 10 minutes only to answer some of the questions that we received on LinkedIn. And after, we will have some time also to answer live questions from the audience. Starting first, I would like to begin with this post that Alieda has shared. Thanks, Alieda, for sharing the article. And here are some comments that we receive on the article, which I'd like to explain. So first, we have one from Sunny that he is asking. He's saying, great tip, using product schema really does the boosting visibility. How long it take to see the traffic improvements? I'd like to answer this question because usually when we publish the schema markup, when we publish the product group, within just a few days, we will be able to start seeing the data on Google Search Console. So even, when we see in this chart here, when we see the data from Google Search Console, just a few days after we can see it. This depends, of course, on the dimension of the e-commerce, but usually just like 2-3 days, Google will start seeing the product there. One thing here to mention that we notice also from our experience is this is also can be aligned with the increase in traffic inside the merchant listing. So if we have a product traffic, it's okay, we will keep seeing it. But what we notice that when we do the product group markup, we notice an important improve even from the Google merchant listing. In some e-commerces, I noticed that the merchant listing, the free listing, was with 0 clicks. After the implementation of the product group, with all the data enrichment behind, we start seeing some clicks. So even, in the situation where we have like nothing, we start seeing an impact after directly implementing the product group. So this was, one important point to highlight. Then we have another question from Gail. He is also asking if there is some interactions with other schema markups, how we manage the aggregate rating, for example, in these cases, and also is a good question. So usually when we are adding the product group, we are adding the markup of the canonical and all the variants that we have. So it's important that we insert the aggregate rating in a correct way. So for example, if I have 1 canonical and 3 variants, and all of them have the reviews, it's important that we focus on the page where we are. So we can add the aggregate ratings for that canonical, and we can, ignore the other reviews. Adding them is not wrong, but if my focus on that page, I can add it. Then on each variant, I have also to add the markup itself. So at this point, when I go to variant 1, variant 2, variant 3, when I add also the product group, I can add the aggregate rating of that page. So in this way, we can avoid like having a lot of reviews for multiple products at the same time, even if it's not basically, wrong, but in order to show only the reviews that is related only for that product, we can do it also in the same way. Then we have another question from Kumar. He was asking, saying that another key aspect to consider is the importance of the user-generated content, such as reviews and rating, which can specify niches. This is exactly, similar to the question that we had before. So combining all of this data in the correct way is the key. So having the aggregate ratings, the reviews for each product on each variant in separated way will be the key in order, to have correct implementation of the product group, especially that we are adding, a lot of data in the same time. So yeah, this is the first post. Then we have another share from Chris, and thanks Chris also for sharing the article. And we have also some questions that I'd like to go with. So the first one is from Andrew, who was saying that the great insight in multi-product group schema sounds like a smart way to boost indexation. One suggestion: don't forget to test structured data using the Google Rich Result tool to ensure everything is set correctly. And this is important, I would like to highlight, because we start seeing a little bit of difference between schema.org and the rich result test tool, especially on this kind of implementation. So sometimes on the product group, we see that everything is cool, everything is working okay on the schema validator. But of course, we need to test it on the rich result test, and we need to ensure that it's working. Other thing we notice that since Google is always updating the recommended and the requirement attributes, what is working today doesn't mean that it work tomorrow. So a lot of recommended can be required. So we need to keep an eye on it. So it's like not one-time implementation, then we forgot about it. We need to test it from time to time to see if there are, some new attributes going to the picture, and if we need to update our markup to stay updated also with Google's requirement. We have another question from Jaya Krishman. I hope pronouncing it in the correct way. So he was asking about the product group schema. Is it, better from the collection for PLP? Here I'd like to clarify this, because this is also, a good question. The product group is different from the item list. So usually we use the item list on the PLP pages. The product group here is added on the product pages. So it's not something that we add with the PLP pages. And those are two separated things. So in PLP, we can add an item list, for example, we can add a collection page. On the product, instead, we are only adding the information related to the product and also the other variants. So it's even different from the related product. Someone else has asked me the same question. Should I add the related product? No, it has nothing to do with the related products. It's only a product group. So it's separated from the item list. It's only for PDP, and we can add only the variant of the product itself and not the related product. Then we have another comment from Bainwit. He was saying that this is a very helpful tip for large e-commerce sites with thousands of variants of products. Yeah, this is, important, because especially when we have big e-commerces, this could have a very big impact, because we know, since we are working with small e-commerces with, some product pages, we know that Google have also a lot of crawling budget to use if the website is small. When it comes to bigger websites, we can see maybe a more effective impact in that cases, because we are dealing with a lot of pages. So when we are adding a bunch of data at the same time, this will have an immediate effect on the way that Google, is crawling the websites, and also the quality of the data that we add will play a big role in this situation. So we are waiting, a better indexing, we are waiting, a better crawling of the websites, and of course, after we are waiting more clicks and impression at the same time. And yeah, those are, was the comment that I would like to answer from the community. And now, if we have any question, we are ready, to take it.
Okay, while we are waiting for some question from our audience, I would like to do a step back and remember what's the product variant and what's the difference with the product group and why is it so important for ranking and for SEO.
Yeah, let me redo the question is what in case if I don't have a product variant and in case I have like the standard product markup. Basically, we can add both, or one or the other. There's no problem even if of keeping like only the product itself. One thing I focus inside the article that I'd like to clarify it again, that when we work with the structured data, it's super important that we keep the data in Google Motion Center also aligned. And this is something that we can notice in many cases. Right now, if you are running ads, for example, and the structured data or the data on the website is not aligned with what you have inside the Google Motion Center, Google will say, looks, we have, this alignment in the data, and they will stop the ads, for example, inside the Google Motion Center. So this is super important. The second point that we mentioned that Google Merchant Center is not only for ads, because we see like on many websites, many businesses, they keep using Google Merchant Center for ads because we know that it was, for years, it was only reserved for the pay for play model. So primarily it was using for ads. But right now, since 2020, so it's almost 4 years, it's also for organic. So we need to ensure that everything inside Google Merchant Center is aligned with the data that we have inside the structured data. And we need also to manage the variants inside Google Merchant Center in a perfect way. So we need to use, for example, the item group ID, which we mentioned inside the article. It's super important. Ensure that we have it in correct way. Then the structured data should reflect exactly the data that we have inside Google Merchant Center. Otherwise, this will not be aligned and we will not get the best of the implementation. Yeah.
Okay. So I have another question. Adding the product group will increase the crawling budget that Google requires to index everything.
Yeah, exactly. This is something in some way I anticipated, especially on the big website. What is nice, that when Google arrived to one page and after understand the relations with the other pages. So imagine it that it's similar to doing internal linking in some way, but instead of doing it at the page level, we are doing it at the structured data level. With the difference that on the structured data level, we can inject all the information behind a page. So from one page, Google can see the canonical and can pull out all the variants that we have behind, in addition to all also the attributes that matter. For example, inside the product markup, for example, Google is asking to specify what is the attributes that the variant is based on. Is it the color, for example? Is it the size? Is it any other feature of the product? So it's not, a simple work. It's a lot of work adding the product variants because we need to specify a lot of information. But finally, this will pay off because if I'm adding more qualified data behind the products, behind my pages, and I'm specifying everything for Google, and I have the same data aligned inside Google Merchant Center, this will be good, and this will, of course, make the mission of Google much more easier. And of course, this will reflect on the indexing because finally, Google will find all the information that they need, and they will find the URLs that they need in one place, and they will understand the relationships between them. So we wait that we will have a better indexing, of course, for those pages that matter.
Okay. So another question. Say, I'm curious to understand better the impact of the canonical link attribute within Google Merchant Center. If I already have canonical tags on my page, is that sufficient, or do I also need to configure them within Google Merchant Center?
Yeah, super question. This is very interesting because what we find that in most cases we have a parameterized URLs inside Google Merchant Center. And Google is clear about it. I mean, they invent this Google index, they call it Google index attribute within Google Merchant Center to tell people, looks, even if you have the canonical on the page, please add it also as well inside Google Merchant Center. Because what we see, I mean, it's enough that we bring that link and go to Google Search Console, put it and do the inspect and see, is Google crawling those parameterized URLs that we have inside Google Merchant Center? I mean, this is a big topic because in most cases, all the companies are using parameterized URLs, especially if they are relying on feed management provider, for example, if they are using a CMS like Shopify, for example. So in most cases, when we start working in Google Merchant Center, we find this parameterized URL. And in most cases, when we bring this parameterized URL and we check it inside Google Search Console, maybe Google is dealing with them as a separated URL. Maybe Google is crawling them in continuous way. So as I'm curating my pages and as I'm adding the canonical links inside the HTML of the page, inside the source page itself, I have to do the same inside Google Merchant Center. And we already have the attributes inside the Google Merchant Center. Google, I mean, was very clear about it. Just add the canonical link inside Google Merchant Center, and this will be enough to make the data aligned. So it's important as adding the canonical inside the HTML on the page.
Okay. So talking also about Google Merchant Center, you wrote another article very interesting in these weeks. That's about Google loyalty program.
Yeah.
And my question is how the product variants can impact on Google Shopping, and then what tell us something about some tips about Google loyalty program and
Yeah.
why it's important. What is important about it?
Yeah. I mean, in fact, they are two separated topics, but the logic behind them is the same. Is always trying to use all the features, everything that Google Merchant Center is giving to us. So the loyalty program, it's something interesting, and it's already available inside Google Merchant Center. And it's also, I mean, something has to do with the quality score of Google Merchant Center. We have also an article that we published with Andrea regarding the quality score. This is another, I mean, nice topic to back and check. What I can say that trying to use all those features, all those programs. So we have right now programs for integrating reviews inside Google Merchant Center. We have this nice feature regarding the loyalty program, which is, I mean, a good tip, because if I'd like to stand out in the SERP, sorry, and show something different from the other, and if I have like a membership program, I can start using it. The same applied also, for integrating the reviews from Trustpilot or another providers that we have them available inside Google Merchant Center. The same for the program of the quality score. And the cool thing is, right now, Google is not only showing, for example, our situation in the market when it comes to the quality score, but they are also showing the data related for the others and tell me, looks, among the industry, you need to do 1, 2, and 3. And they are giving like average numbers from the industry. So this is, super cool. I believe it's still not used too much because, most of people are using Google Merchant Center just to managing the product. And we are not like, going inside each feature we have there because we have a lot. There is a lot of work can be done in that direction, and there is a lot of optimization. So anything related to integrating reviews, Google loyalty program, adding canonical links, adding item group ID, anything that can be done inside Google Merchant Center, it will doing, because we know in the future they are becoming more important, and a lot more features, I believe, will be also added from Google in that direction, so they can compete with Amazon, which is, in some way right now is the main search engine where people are searching for products. So a big opportunity for all people who work in the e-commerce industry.
Okay. Still about the product variants, and do you have any example in terms of use cases or work you did with some brands, some clients, something
Yeah,
interesting that
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
want to share with our community?
Yeah, sure. Right now, we started implementing the product, I believe, since February. I believe we implemented on like 50 or 60 sites. I mean, we have a lot of websites that are migrating to the product group. What we can say that, of course, adding the product group is improving the quality of the data behind. This is very clear. And also is a lot of work because, as I mentioned before, when we are adding this data, we need to specify each time the relationships between the canonical and the variants, and we need to specify the attributes that basically is making the difference between variant and another. So it's not something like, I mean, one click. Of course, I mean, we are using, in the case of WordLift, we have a product behind, and this product automate everything. So, I mean, it's a cool tool for me. I mean, it's easy because it's one click and after I can do it. But I know, I mean, if you are trying to do it like with the code, I mean, it could be also a lot of work. But finally, at the end of the day, it's worth it because when we are adding the data, of course, I mean, there is a scan scene quickly. In Google Search Console, we can check it. I mean, we see in most cases that we have more detected the product inside Google Merchant Center, and the free listing was increasing in very, very significant way when we started with the product group, even in cases that we don't have like any traffic before in Google Merchant listing, the free listing, we start seeing, I mean, traffic increasing in the free listing and keep increasing. So, I mean, there is a lot of value there, especially when we see something that's starting from scratch and start increasing, I mean, with the implementation of the product group.
Okay. So just to before we finish our session, I know that you are writing a new content and it's something big. Let's give our community just a little spoil if it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah, nice thing. So this is what the new article that we are working on. This is, I mean, something that in some way related to what I've discussed before. So working with Google Merchant Center, and the idea is how I can use the data that I have available inside my catalog, for example, inside my PIM, the product information management system, and in which way I can use it in order to have more visibility. This is the biggest challenge of all, I mean, the clients that we have at the moment, especially if you have like a lot of products, a lot of catalogs, and you have a lot of data that you don't know how to do it. Because we know that the standard attributes that we have inside Google Merchant Center are like the color, the material, the link, the title, everything. But how we can go beyond this, I mean, how we can use all the data that we have in the team, how I can get the benefit of all the data that I have, this is something that we are going to discover, I mean, in the new article. And we will mention, I mean, everything that we can use. This will be something very interesting because we are doing also a kind of benchmark marketing. We are going to see how Amazon is working, how Google is working, what Google needs as well. So yeah, will be very interesting.
Oh, great. So we are looking forward to read it.
Yeah.
We have another 5 minutes left. Maybe we can just give a couple of advice to use product variant, product group, and all and everything we talking about for business.
Yeah, I believe one thing we can start with is always starting from the data. So taking a look on Google Search Console, trying to understand which are the products that are performing the best. Do I mean a general SEO check to see, for example, what are the products, what are the variants. Do the analysis to understand, for example, if I'm not adding the canonical, if I have a separated URLs, for example, and separated products, and its product is ranking in different way, and maybe we have a variance, but we are not adding canonical for them. We are dealing with them as a separated product. This is something that we need to understand first, because this is the first thing I do. For example, if I have an e-commerce, we have a product and a lot of variants, and those variants have canonical for themselves, for example, I try to analyze how much traffic are arriving for that page, the canonical, and how much traffic are arriving for the variants. And after I can understand, I mean, if it's worth canonize them or not. And in many cases, we see that, for example, it's better to canonize them because like they have less than 10% of the traffic. So starting with data is the key point. Then based on this, based on the data, I can, do a better, I can take a better decisions. And after I can do the implementation based on the decision that they have. And once we do optimization, once we do an implementation, we can test it first. So if I don't want to do it, site-wide, maybe I can test it on a group of products on a specific category, see its impact. If it works, after I can scale it for the whole website. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I think we can go. Thank you, Doreid, for your time for this session. I hope we can have more session with our community to answer their questions. And waiting for your next content, I say goodbye to everybody and see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.